Aloha Aina, and welcome to Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ahu Keikahu Cardwell, and here we are today out on the windward side of Oahu, and I'll tell you this right now, we have a fascinating guest on the show, so let's go on over here and meet him. Kevin, aloha.
Aloha.
How are you? Kevin Chang, did I say your name right?
Yes.
Wonderful, and tell us where we are right now, Kevin.
We're actually at Kahalu Regional Park, down the street from Key Project, where my office is at.
And that's KUA, yes? K-U-A.
KUA, yeah. KUA stands for Kua Aina Ulu Awamo, which means grassroots, growing through shared responsibility. The awamo is basically the palanquin, the carrying stick carried on many shoulders to carry something someone cannot bear alone. So it's a metaphor for shared responsibility. The acronym KUA means backbone. We are an organization created to serve as a backbone for many grassroots Malawa Aina communities.
Kevin, how did you get involved in all of this?
That's a good question. KUA is an organization that's only been around for maybe 5 or 6 years now. Before that, there was a network of communities called Ealupu, which means move forward together, and they were sort of held together by different efforts, but primarily a one-woman game. This lady named Debbie Goins-Smith, who it was her passion to help these people from across the state meet with each other and talk about how they manage their resources in their ahupua'a, and mostly resources on the near shore. This also included the watershed as well, but their focus was on the near shore. And that group, Ealupu, 6 years ago, decided that they needed a kind of more sustainable convening mechanism to keep their gatherings going. And so they hired myself and my deputy director, Miwa Tamanaha, to do that.
So you created kind of like an umbrella organization, is that accurate to say?
We're like when I think about it, I think of it as we serve as a convening mechanism, a learning and sharing mechanism, and a governing mechanism, so that if groups can come together, learn from each other, get better together, and when they can agree, because they don't always agree, when they can empower each other together. And we serve as like, the word is sort of like, we work to keep the network together and help them do that themselves. So the governing mechanism really is the people. We're the people who plan the wedding or whatever, you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they don't have to put their time and energy on that. They can put their time and energy on actually doing the work that impacts the community, yes?
Correct.
Wow. Where did you learn the skills and how to do this, Kevin?
I don't know if it's, I think you just get thrust into it. It helps if you're, I think, vested in a community, especially, but also work to be a good listener, and also someone who helps people work to understand each other more. Those kind of mediating skills, I think, are helpful for this. Not to say I have them all, I don't think I have those all the time, but that's what helps this kind of work. Our folks have been meeting, like I said, now for maybe 15, 16 years. And kind of what we do is, at least annually, Ealupu meets on a different island every year.
Really?
And they're generally hosted by one community that has a project in the area, and then we're hosted in that place, and we meet for about 2 full days, 2.5 days, to give back to the place, learn about the place, share with each other, and talk about what we can do together.
Kevin, it seems to me like you're very passionate about what you do. And so obviously, or maybe you did wake up one morning and realize this is what you want to do. How did you come to bring these skills together and do what you do with such, with such focus?
Well, I grew up here. Yeah, this is Kahalu. I grew up sort of on the Kaneohe side or Huimano side, but I grew up playing around and going in the mountains, whatever, in this whole region. And this is where, the song Ku'uhomeo Kahalu came from. And in fact, I think Jerry Santos was one of the first employees at Key Project, which used to be here at the hygienic store. But that place was a place where there were energies about helping our youth cope with change and transition, because it's happening. We can be passive about it, let it happen, or we can engage it, right? And even in that song, Ku'uhomeo Kahalu, there's a change is a strange thing. It cannot be denied. It will help you find yourself or make you lose your pride. I think this community, among many others throughout the state, have these pockets of kind of pride, I guess, but strong people connected to place, culture, and community. Yeah, I think Hawaii in general has that, but we have pockets within us that are even stronger. And if we can unite those pockets in some way, that's a cool thing to me. And my community has a lot of that. And I don't think you can grow up here and not help absorb that energy, learn from that energy, and grow from that energy. So that's where some of that's from. I went to Castle High School down the road over here. My mentors, the mentors in my network generally are, kupuna elders, practitioners, fishermen, farmers, experts in medicine or things like limu and things like that. But my mentors were my parents. My mother's from Oregon. My father's Chinese from here. I'm Chinese Irish. My father was an attorney and my mother a journalist. When I was little, my mother was, this community center used to have a grassroots newspaper. So that's all the farmers and everybody knew what was going on. My mom would carry me with her to the pig farms and to the terolo'i, to the community centers and whatever, and I'd be part of that. And so that's part of me. And then I think doing things like football, where it's collective action, collective strategy, and planning. I was a land manager at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Mm-hmm. And then before that, I worked for the Trust for Public Land. And before that, I was worked in civil litigation and entertainment law.
So you had some background, you had some skills and background already built up for just this kind of thing, really, didn't you?
Maybe. Maybe, yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like where you are now is kind of like a perfect fit. I mean, you're able to use all of those skills plus all of the seeds that was planted by your mom when she carried you around. Mm-hmm. It all came together, mm-hmm. and you're in the right place at the right time.
Sometimes it feels that way. Yeah. I went to the University of Hawaii and University of Oregon, and I played football a little bit at University of Hawaii as a walk-on. And my teammates, some who I grew up with and are from here, spent a lot of time playing music. And Ku'uhomeo Kahalu was one of those songs, but I think learning that music with them and then going to school and developing it and then getting into the music industry, which is something I did for a little while. I still am involved in it, but in a very little way. The music is about the place, it's about the people, and it's about bringing those themes together.
Kevin, let's talk about the community here and how big a need does the community have for services?
I guess in terms of my work, we serve a certain purpose, and so this community, Kahalu'u, has a lot of different environmental issues that the community is trying to address. It's through my work, it's really whether or not our network of communities can gain from, learn from, and help that kind of effort. So our service is more through our convenings and connecting and helping to build a place, kind of a place where people can be open with each other and grow together.
Give us an example of something like that happened recently, please.
Well, I think like one example that is kind of ongoing is the interest in kind of rural Hawaiian fishing communities in developing their own rules to manage their fisheries. So about 25 years ago, the state of Hawaii passed a law called the Community-Based Subsistence Fishing Area Law. And that law gives some ability to the community to partner with the state, co-govern with the state, co-manage with the state, create rules based on the traditional and customary practices of their place. And so many of them are inspired by the potential of this rule to be part of the solution in taking care of Hawaii. And so that law is about 25 years old. In 25 years so far, there's one community that got it. And that was about 3 years ago when the Ealupu network got behind the Hui Maka Ainana o Makana of Haena, Kauai, to develop the first community-based fishing area, subsistence fishing area. And now they're working to support efforts on Molokai, in Mo'omomi, Molokai, Kipohulu, Maui, Miloli'i on Hawaii Island, and others like that.
They really encouraged grassroots advice coming up.
It's a bottom-up process.
Yeah, bottom-up process.
Yeah. And the state is not used to that.
Yeah.
But honestly, most governments are not used to that anymore. And it's sort of recreating governance again. It's bringing sort of a konohiki mindset.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that Mehana Vaughn and Carlos Andrade have been doing a lot of different research on Haena and community-based solutions for natural resource management. And in looking into that history, they talk about konohiki, and the idea that kono means like to entice or to bring in, to gather, to bring something in, and hiki is to do. Yeah, and the idea was the konohiki was this kind of glue between the common people and governance in place, and they're able to be this mediator. And so our governments in general, not just Hawaii, I think, don't know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
They're so disconnected through central planning and whatnot that they don't know how to work with community. They allow us to tear each other apart rather than be safe in a safe space and find common ground, because I think that exists.
Yeah. So it's the old Hawaiian cultural ways that really work the best, yeah?
Yes. They also become a healthier community. Their environment becomes healthier. Their relationships with each other and the government become healthier.
There's the potential for other organizations to be inspired by what they did, what the fishermen did with the ground up, grassroots up, being able to, give input and help decide the outcome.
Yeah, and it's not about outside interests leading a cause. It's not about large conservation initiatives, though they can be helpful and supportive. It is really about the people. It's about people healing themselves through healing their place. And I think you're right. I think they're inspiring each other, and that's why I think there's a growing movement of interest in this. And it's about our people and our fishermen.
In this place.
In this place. There's talk sometimes that everything in conservation is kind of this larger, let's lock everybody out. This is like a middle ground where we can work together to figure out what are the needs for ourselves, but also the place.
Well, Kevin, how does that change people who go through a process like that, where all of a sudden they go, my goodness, we actually have a say in this thing?
I think first, I guess on the ground, it's kind of like how I said, what I learned a lot from football is if we can find a way, there's nothing like being able to work together and realizing that you can have, whether it's a large or a little thing, some say over your destiny, right? And if it's a destiny of your icebox and your community's ability to feed itself from it, that's a huge step for a lot of our folks. I'm starting to see that because of all these changes around us globally, and it's not limited to Hawaii, but what I see is in Hawaii, is our government is struggling more with trying to, and it's maybe because forms of governance are going to have to change, or governance is changing. You know, the idea of nation states is changing. I think what I'm starting to hear more, and you know, I could be wrong, but in some cases our government is saying we're not sure what to do.
Yeah, we don't know what to do next.
And it's taken a long time for, you know, it takes one person to admit something. It takes even longer for a government to admit that.
Yeah.
And then so how do we work together? And if you're the government, you're not sure what that is, then we need to work that out.
Yeah.
So that takes not just theory and you know, thinking, but it takes action. You got to combine it. You got to have praxis.
Kevin, you at KUA, you guys work with a lot of different networks, yeah?
Yeah, three networks for it now, to be specific. Yeah.
Tell us about those networks.
So Ealupu, which means move forward together, is a network of about 32 official communities. So they have an Ailike, a creed that they sign. It's a very short thing of what they value, basically, together. But it's about 40 communities at any one moment that meets annually. And they're focused on, I think, community-based management and education in general. And then we've recently begun to help facilitate the Hui Malama Loko I'a, which is a fish pond network, basically. It's about almost 40 fish pond restoration initiatives across the state. And our youngest network is called the Limu Hui, primarily made up of kind of elders, kupunas who have knowledge of limu practice, limu use, but also an interest in one day restoring the limu.
The limu being seaweed.
Limu being seaweed. And the Limu Hui basically arose out of the Ealupu network, where one of our kupuna uncle, Henry Chang, who recently passed, wanted to see if there was this energy to do that. And so that network is just kind of growing.
What is the state's reaction, state of Hawaii's reaction, bureaucracy reaction, when somebody approaches them and goes, well, we want to start to work with you, or we want you to listen to us because we have ideas?
Mm-hmm. I think initially you have fear.
Mm-hmm.
Government fears people wanting to actually be part of governance, I think. Mm-hmm. And this is really happening around the world. Like, we're starting to connect our communities with indigenous and local communities throughout the world. And I think there's a growth. The relationship has to grow in a certain way. And first, there's probably some fear, because we're so used to depending on just electoral politics to determine our lives, and we're seeing that that's not really working too well.
Yeah, in other words, sit back and do it to me.
Yeah, we need to be a part of that. We can't just sit back, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's happening globally, but when government recognizes that, and people in government, they're people, and they see that happening too. Collectively, we have a history, like in civic participation, of, you know, going in and shutting down a meeting, or sometimes we end up yelling at each other, whatever. But if we can find things we agree on, we go into the room and we own what we believe in. And we don't need to be, we don't need to just be angry about it. We can find a way to talk about it to each other, and we interface with the government that way, and we build a certain form of conduct. That's law first. The law is in the hearts of the people, right? And that's based on our basic values about treating each other with respect and conducting ourselves a certain way. If we build that, government starts to work with that more and more, because they see it missing. They don't know how to facilitate it, even though I think that used to be what their job was. And to me, that's part of the konohiki stuff. You know, if the community starts to facilitate governance itself, that's probably the best thing.
Yeah. So Kevin, what we're really talking about here is community-based empowerment rather than bureaucratic or government-based empowerment. Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. I'd love to have you share with our viewers more about how you're connecting outside of Hawaii with other indigenous communities. Tell us about that.
So our folks were able to take advantage of the World Conservation Congress coming here, and I was able to be a part of the process of bringing it here through the Office of Hawaiian Affairs before, and that created this opportunity for our folks to see You know, the part of the building the networks and part of bringing the government across the table is when we realize that we're not alone in how we think and that we can reach out to each other, yeah? And that includes, so it could be the pockets of little communities that feel like they're fighting alone, or it could be the island of Hawaii, or it could be the archipelago of Hawaii. And when all of our folks see that there are people just like them in India, in China, in Myanmar, in all over Africa, throughout the Pacific, it does something to you just to know that, yeah?
Yeah.
You know, but this fishery stuff, it's happening in Tahiti, it's happening throughout Micronesia, it's happening in Fiji, it's happening in the Philippines, and some of it's unique to their place, but some of it's not. Some of it works.
Some of it is the same
Across,
exact story, no matter
it's the same
where
exact
you go.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
And those stories are connecting. So the stories are being told, and now they're being woven like a lei, and they have this common thread of taking care of our home.
Yeah, and isn't it true, Kevin, that it's the fact that it's the same story, no matter where you go, that in itself is empowering, because you realize, well, wait a minute, we're not alone.
Yeah.
They're just like us, and we're just like them, and we're having the same problems and issues that they are, and we hear from them how they're beginning to solve it, and they hear from us how we're beginning to solve it.
Isolated individuals find each other and learn they're not alone. What they think is a private issue suddenly becomes a public issue. When it becomes a public issue, then they say, what can we do together to resolve the issue? And that's where the fruits of governance begin, right? Mm-hmm. And I see that happening when we help people convene, when we allow them to, you create some basic space and structure, but it's adaptable and open for them to come in and bring themselves into the room. Mm-hmm. Those kind of fruits start to it starts to bear fruit, I guess.
Yeah. So KUA brings people together, brings community people together, people who have a stake in the community together, and then when those people get together, that's where the real magic happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, Kevin, what do you think? If you could wave a magic wand and have it any way you want, how would you like the future of this community right here to be?
Well, I don't know if you watch the news there. We have a lot of cesspool issues, and I'm worried that those issues are going to push more and more of the people of this place that I grew up with out. Mm-hmm. And that's just a small microcosm of what's happening throughout the islands. I wish that to be more specific about my work and this place as like an ahupa or a moku, that our government became more place-based and found ways to train our own people in our own community to be part of the solution, rather than just relying on experts or, hiring it out,
Yeah.
Building the capacity in our place with the people in our place.
Wow. Kevin, Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future airs not only throughout Hawaii, but it airs all over the world. Mm-hmm. And I'll bet you right now there's some people maybe on the other side of the world who are watching us, listening to you and me right now, watching you and me right now, and they're saying, my goodness, our community issues, the stuff we have going on right now, the issues and problems we're facing are exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. What would you say to them? What's your message to them?
Without knowing their situation?
Yeah.
I think do the work, take the time to organize and meet and grow together. Mm-hmm. If we can't grow together, then we're just going to grow apart. So make that kind of space, and I think things can happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. If you had this to do all over again, would you do it?
Well, I think like you said, I think right now it's the thing for me to do.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. Yeah.
Good. What do you see the future?
I don't know. We have still things to do here.
I guess.
Yeah.
Lots to do here. Yeah. Lots of empowerment to have happen, and of course, there's not only the generation that's doing it now, but there's the generations to come that are going to be standing on your shoulders.
There are a lot of young people who are looking into ideas of the green economy, but green jobs. And those jobs don't just include things around energy, which is important, but it also includes stewardship and being the kind of people who can unite communities to take care of their place. And we need to build the jobs for them, because they're coming out whether we want it or not. They're coming, and if we don't create a space for them, I don't know what happens, so
Yeah.
we need to build that.
Yeah, and it's really all about, I mean, the bottom line is all about is creating communities and places for people to make their own communities a better place to live
Yes.
and work and things like that,
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. And that's where we have to leave it, Kevin. What an inspiring story. Thank you so much. Mahalo for being on Voices of Truth. Please don't stop. Please keep doing what you're doing. Let the next generation stand on your shoulders and have the next generation stand on their shoulders, because it can only get better and better, yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you. And mahalo to our viewers for joining Kevin and me here on Voices of Truth. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruth.tv.com, and you can like Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future on Facebook. I'm Ahu Kahu Cardwell for the Kiwani Foundation, along with Kevin here. And until next time, ahui ho! Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.